Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, July 23rd, 2021. They are still afraid of us. In our June 25th, 2021 Chairman's Report, we discussed an example of the IRS bureaucrats hard at work denying tax-exempt status to Christians engaged. Now, that's a nonprofit group that urges Christians to pray for elected officials and to vote their values. The reason given for denying the exemption was that Bible teachings are typically affiliated with the Republican Party and candidates. Now, this bias against Republicans by not just the IRS bureaucrats, but by most federal bureaucrats is well known. However, most of these bureaucrats don't publicly admit their bias like Stephen A. Martin did. Now, Martin is the director of the IRS Office of Exempt Organizations, Rulings, and Agreements. Not only did we expose this idiocy and obvious bias by Martin and the IRS in our chairman's report, there were complaints from all around the country about this egregious behavior. Kevin Brady of Texas, the Republican leader on the House Ways and Means Committee, and Mike Kelly of Pennsylvania, the Republican leader on the Oversight Subcommittee, sent a letter on June 29, 2021 to IRS Commissioner Chuck Rettig asking him to address their concerns. They wrote, quote, "The IRS denial letter singles out Christians Engaged, the organization applying for tax-exempt status, because the agency views Bible teachings to be Republican affiliated," end of quote. Now, here are some of their other points. First, it is widely known that Democrats also have strongly held religious beliefs. Even this week, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki described President Biden as a strong man of faith and described his beliefs as something not to be viewed through a political prism. Given the strongly held beliefs and biblical teachings by politicians on both sides of the aisle, it is unfounded to conclude that biblical teachings are affiliated with any particular political party. This approach to examining tax-exempt status applications is a dangerous one. Now, the Bible teaches that murder is wrong. Will the IRS deny tax-exempt status to groups working to reduce violent crime in local communities? The Bible teaches that people should care for their elders. Will the IRS consider revoking tax-exempt status for groups that support and promote elder care? The Bible also teaches that one should do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Will the IRS revoke the tax-exempt status of organizations designed to combat child bullying? Now, concluding that biblical teachings are affiliated with a particular political party simply because a party may take a position that in some way overlaps with a particular teaching in the Bible, now that would lead to the absurd results suggested above. Additionally, the IRS appears to be back to picking winners and losers. The agency denied tax-exempt status to Christians Engaged, which seeks to empower individuals to pray, vote, and engage in some sort of political education or activism. Yet, the IRS recognizes the exempt status of similarly situated groups advocating to increase participation in each and every election and to foster civic engagement, such as When We All Vote, a group created by Michelle Obama. This discrepancy is alarming and warrants further explanation. So, given our serious concerns, please provide us with the following. 1. A list of groups who were denied tax-exempt status for being affiliated with the Republican Party and their candidate since 2019. 2. A list of organizations that were granted tax-exempt status and had a mission of increasing voter participation in civic education. And 3. A briefing by the Tax-Exempt and Government Entities Group on the process currently used to evaluate applications for tax-exempt status, like the ones submitted by Christians Engaged. Now, many prominent Republican lawmakers use this obvious bias to argue against the Biden administration's plan to increase the IRS's budget by an additional $8 billion a year. That's more than a 50% increase. The presumed justification for this additional $8 billion is that increased enforcement would allow the IRS to collect a significant portion of the $1 trillion a year that the IRS now admits is being evaded. This, in turn, would allow the administration to claim that some of its huge spending proposals would actually be paid for by the additional revenue now being collected. Now, of course, there's no real basis to conclude that such a massive increase in the IRS budget will result in a corresponding increase in revenue collection. There will certainly be more audits, but that alone cannot guarantee more than a relatively small amount of additional taxes being collected. As previously discussed by us, the main benefit of the additional funding would be to modernize the IRS computer systems. The goal is to have computers that can analyze tax returns and assess income taxes based solely on that analysis. As noted earlier, that's a very scary concept, but it's one that will take some years to accomplish. The fact is that DC just wants everyone to believe that it's the evil evaders who are the reason that the IRS needs so much more money. First Liberty Institute is the largest legal organization in the nation dedicated exclusively to defending religious liberty for all Americans. According to their website, we believe that every American of any faith or no faith at all has a fundamental right to follow their conscience and live according to their beliefs. First Liberty appealed the IRS's determination against Christians engaged, and in early July, just after Americans celebrated Independence Day, the IRS reversed course and granted Christians engaged their tax-exempt status. This is truly great news for our client as well as religious organizations and churches across America, said Lee Patterson, counsel for First Liberty Institute. We are grateful that the IRS changed course to bring its decision into line with the Constitution and with its own regulations. Christians Engaged President Bunny Pound said, quote, "I am incredibly thankful to the IRS for doing the right thing, and we look forward to continuing our mission of educating more followers of Jesus to pray for our nation and to be civically engaged. When we stand up, our republic works for all Americans," end of quote. In conclusion, Christians Engaged may have gotten its deserved exemption, but using the IRS to promote a political agenda is still a huge problem. The Biden administration and some members of Congress seem to be more concerned not with the wanton abuse of power and discrimination displayed by Mr. Martin and the IRS, but by the fact that these people were actually stupid enough to put their real agenda in writing. Mr. Biden and many who are aligned with him seem to believe that it's perfectly proper to use the IRS to promote their agenda and to hinder anyone who might oppose them. This arrogant position that only they have the intellect and judgment to decide what's good for the rest of us is simply not true. Look at Mr. Biden's attack on Facebook. He contends that by allowing posts that advise against the COVID vaccine, Facebook is not allowing free speech, but killing people. If you want to prevent the IRS from ever being further weaponized to punish those of us who may object to the DC opinions and dictates of what's good for us, then help us pass the fair tax. The IRS will be gone, and we'll pay our taxes when we make purchases. We, not the DC elites, will decide how much federal tax we pay. So if you have friends who don't know about the fair tax, send them to fairtax.org. Have them watch the whiteboards under how it works, and if they agree, ask them to please join us. Then, contact your member of Congress and the President and demand that Congress pass the fair tax, the only truly fair tax.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax, and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.